이핑가운가운 이비비비비모 가사인지가 받아서 되는 똑같은 택배가 나타납니다.
Hello, this is Jimmy T, and this is Red Cross Month. Today, we're honored to have Kristina Blum-Justice, the Community Volunteer Leader. Welcome back. It's great to see you always.
It's so good to be back.
So tell me about the Red Cross as an organization here.
So yeah, we talk about, you hear the Red Cross, you hear that name is usually thrown around with big disasters, but we are right here in the Eastern Sierra as well. And we do have a very vibrant, active little core group of people, and we would love to grow. So here in the Eastern Sierra, we have 3 amazing volunteers in Mono County, and we have 5 here in Inyo County. Our Inyo County team was started by Ted Metz in the early 2000s, and he's still around, and he was such a wonderful part of our group, and just we all love him to bits. And we have John Shepard, who is kind of taken Ted's spot as our de facto sort of leader for our group. John has actually been with the Red Cross since the 1970s. He's very experienced with disaster response. He's very experienced with communications, and he actually does a lot with our government ops communication with the government side of things. And then we have a brand new member, Samantha Klein, who is just Rookie of the Year. She is amazing. She has hit the ground running, and she is part of our local disaster action team. And she's also pursuing becoming a photographer with our disaster PR team. So she's just a really super great core team. And of course, Cheryl Underhill also is involved and helps us out quite a bit.
She's everywhere. She's everywhere.
Yes.
So you talked about the team. Now, what about, you said the disaster action team? Is that the building block, right?
Yes, the disaster action team is the cornerstone of the building block of the Red Cross. Everywhere you go in the country, there are disaster action teams. And what that is a core group of community volunteers who are trained to go in after usually a single family home fire. That's the biggest thing the Red Cross responds to. And the number that sticks in my head is something like 63,000 calls across the country for disaster action team calls for usually single family home fires. We go in and we make sure that that family has whatever they need to survive for the first 48 hours after a home fire. And we also help them come up with a plan for moving forward and connect them with resources moving forward. That is the basic fundamental thing that we do. And that's where almost every Red Cross volunteer is going to start, is that disaster action team building block. It's how I started. It's how pretty much everybody does. From there, then there are hundreds of different volunteer opportunities within the Red Cross. There's everything from, we have on big disasters, we have ERVs, which are emergency response vehicles. They go around and they actually are a mobile feeding unit, because on a lot of these big disasters, I saw it on Hurricane Ian, you see it on the big fires, there's no electricity. So having a hot meal is a tremendous luxury. So our ERV teams will actually go out into the disaster zone and give people meals. That's a whole specialized training you can do. Here locally, we have one of the things, we're all cross-trained in sheltering, because it's Bishop, it's the Eastern Sierra. We don't have a whole lot of people and resources, so we all multi-train. So all of our local volunteers are trained in shelter work and how to, if we ever had to open a shelter here in the Eastern Sierra, it would be done by either Mono County or Inyo County Health and Human Services. Our local volunteers are trained how to help out in those shelters. And that's something we have seen here, is a disaster hits, there's a wildfire, there's a round fire, there's a Mountain View fire, homes are destroyed, and we're a small community throughout the Eastern Sierra. We're all just small communities, and we care about our neighbors. And sometimes you just don't know what to do. And joining an organization like the Red Cross, getting your training ahead of time so that when that disaster hits, you have a plan, you know what you can do, and you have what it takes to actually be able to respond to that and actually help is one of the greatest gifts we can give to our fellow community members. And we are looking for volunteers. So if you would like to join us, we would love to have you.
Besides sheltering, what other training can someone get?
Oh gosh, like I said, there are hundreds of opportunities.
Locally.
Locally. So all kinds of different things. Like I was mentioning, Samantha's training to be a photographer with the Red Cross. And that's a very, very specialized line of training. For me, I'm a community volunteer leader. I talk about preparedness and prevention before a disaster hits. That's a big piece of what we are looking for here is people who are interested in being involved with some of the Red Cross's youth programs and our sound the alarm smoke detector installation programs, some of those sort of before disaster hits things. And then most of us have we call it our blue sky before disaster training, and then we have our gray sky training. So for me, gray sky training, I actually trained to become an emergency medical technician to work as an EMT in the big disaster shelters. So that's my gray sky training. Whereas my blue sky, I get to do stuff like this and hang out with you and talk about what we can do to make our community more resilient about emergencies. And then when disasters hit, I am helping people meet their medical needs and survive during that time of crisis.
So we've got a great community. How would a volunteer contact you?
Okay, so grab a pen and paper and write down my email address. It's Kristina with a K, Kristina B as in boy, LUM as in mountain, @redcross.org. So Kristina.Blum@redcross.org.
Now this is Red Cross Month, like I said, and what's happening March 22nd?
March 22nd is Giving Day. And basically this is a nationwide month of celebrating the Red Cross. And this is our time when we ask the community to consider donating to this nonprofit organization that is specifically dedicated to helping families and our communities during times of crisis. You can do that by going to redcross.org/Giving Day, or you can email me if you'd like more details.
So we're looking for volunteers. Kristina.Blum@redcross.org, redcross.org/Giving Day on March 22nd. They help us a lot. Let's help them. Kristina, it's amazing. Once again,
been such an honor
thank you for
to be
coming.
with you.
Hello, this is Jimmy T with Eye on Inyo, and today we're talking insurance with Rock Baker. Rock, welcome.
Jimmy, good to see you.
It's good to see you also. The reason you're coming here is we've had floods, avalanches, everything going bad right now. Tell us about the major insurance levels.
Well, basically, the people in areas like Mammoth, Aspendale, in the Alpine areas, they're the ones getting hit the hardest. But we've had claims in the Bishop area, so it's good for people to know a little bit about what they have. Your basic coverage on your home is what's called a homeowner policy, so owner occupied. That covers your house, it covers your stuff, contents, whatever that may be, clothes, china, bicycles, that kind of thing. And then it also protects liability. Okay, there's more to it than that, but that's the basic thumbnail of what it is. And in the kind of storms that we've had in the last month and a half, most of this winter, people are saying, well, is this covered? Is this covered? Is this covered? And it will vary going on. Weight of ice and snow is going to be covered under most policies. And here's the caveat: is that check, your mileage may vary, so check your policy, for that, or talk to your agent to see. But by and large, all homeowner policies use the same template, the same basic contract. So weight of ice and snow is going to be covered on that kind of thing. And so we had a number of collapsed awnings over in Highland Mobile Home Park. That's going to be covered because of weight of ice and snow. The issue comes in is that when water comes in from the melting snow, water is one of those claims that is a real pain, because you don't have, fire is covered no matter what, unless you said it yourself. Then that's not. But fire's covered no matter what. Water, it depends on why the water's there. In other words, did the pipe freeze and break? Then that's going to be covered. There's going to be coverage for that, so that damage. Is it because the pipe is tired and the joint broke or whatever? That's not going to be covered, because that's wear and tear. Same thing with a roof. If you have an old roof and it leaks, that's not going to be covered. If you have a tree limb fall on your roof and bust it, and the rain comes in and leaks, that is going to be covered. And then you've got stuff in between those two extremes. So it's always good in the event of that kind of claim, water claims in particular, what you want to do is document it, the damage, and then make sure that damage doesn't continue. Okay, it's real important to take care of that. If you don't want to wait for the insurance company, people say, well, I need to wait. No, document that it happened. Got a cell phone, take pictures of it. It's easy to do, okay? And then take measures to prevent further damage, whatever that may be. And keep your receipts, because that will be picked up by the insurance company. So that's real important. People say, well, do I have to wait? No, you have 3 days and water's going to, no, take care of the business. Whatever it is, temporary repairs to fix it until the company can get a hold of you. So that's you know, in the event of that. Now, see, because your basic, the water damage, going back to that real quickly. If you have snow, which is going to be a claim, these claims are going to continue through July, okay? So the issue is, people say, well, what about snow? And again, weight of ice and snow is going to be covered. When the snow melts and water starts coming as a result of the snow melting, again, that actually comes under a flood policy. Insurance definition of a flood is water from an outside source. So that could be even a hose in the yard that we had a claim like that one time. A kid left a hose running outside, flooded the parent's basement, wasn't covered, water from an outside source. And so it is artificial or man-made. So snow melting, water from an outside source. So take measures to prevent that water from coming in, because you got snow around your place, the creeks are going to get high, the ditches are going to get high, the debris is going to plug, you're going to have culverts that get plugged, you're going to have these issues, and be aware and take those measures, because that kind of damage, unless you have flood insurance, is not going to be covered under the basic homeowner policy. So that, and then the question comes, you mentioned avalanche. Avalanche is a unique breed of cat, because you have avalanche, what you look at in an insurance policy are the exclusions. What isn't covered, because that's the most critical part of the policy. Not because you won't have specifics on what is covered, but you're going to have specifics on what's not. And if it isn't listed in the what's not, you're going to have coverage. Well, avalanche is not listed. You don't see the word avalanche in an insurance policy at all. You'll see mudslide, that isn't covered. Okay, moving dirt, that's not covered. So the avalanche, and I had an underwriter actually tell me this once years ago. He says, yeah, avalanche is going to be covered unless it's mostly dirt. So how do we determine that? Okay, so and again, we had years ago, about 25 years ago, a house in Aspendale that got leveled by an avalanche. It was covered because it was snow. Because again, not having a lot of those kind of claims, they don't know. But some companies will balk at covering avalanches because, well, it's moving earth, and the comeback is, no, it's not. It's moving frozen water. It's not a flood because it's not water. Okay, so if it turns into water and comes down, no, it isn't. But if the avalanche comes down, again, you could get coverage from that, and like I said, we've had coverage get paid on it because it isn't excluded on the policy, and that's something to be aware of as far as people that live in avalanche-prone areas to understand that difference. As it goes further in the year, and you get more and more land instability due to the melting snow, and you have, there's some snow and mud comes down, that can be an issue of coverage, because again, is it dirt or is it snow? And that's the define. So that's, that seems kind of ambiguous, but because the policy, it's excluding specific things, it doesn't tell you what specifically is covered. You won't find the word where you're covered by fire in a regular homeowner policy, but it's not excluded, so therefore it's covered. See, that's how that works. So the exclusions page is really, really important. That's the key. That's really, really key. Earthquake insurance, that's again, that would be the trigger for earthquake is earth movement. In theory, mudslides could come under that. I don't have any experience with that coming as far as a claim, but I have heard that is where people can get coverage. However, earthquake has a very high deductible, so it's one of those things that may or may not happen. So,
but we can get earthquake insurance in this area because some places you can't.
Well, in California, no. In California, companies are mandated to offer earthquake insurance when they write a policy brand new, and then I think they have to offer earthquake every other year or every 2 years after that. So, and there's no, actually right now, because it's been relatively quiet earthquake-wise as far as any major damage or anything, there's actually some options out there to get earthquake coverage. Earthquake coverage is a real personal decision. We don't actively market earthquake coverage, mainly because it isn't necessarily pricey, but for what you get out of it, it could be, because there's only one peril, earthquake. That's the only thing, okay? Your deductible is 15% of coverage. So like, okay, a $500,000 house, $75,000 deductible. So it's a catastrophic event. The place pretty much has to fall down to have that kind of damage. That's why I tell people, you got to lose a wall. So you got a wall missing, keep in mind. So you're covering it for a catastrophic event. So if that's what you're looking for, is the home run ball, is that catastrophic event coverage, and that's going to work. But at the same time, people say, well, gee, that's a really high. I don't know if I have that money. Well, yeah, but do you have money to rebuild your house, period? Okay, because you're going to get, the way it works, let's say that the house is, a $500,000 house is leveled. You got a 15% deductible. Well, you're going to get $425,000. You will get that money for it. So you'll get something, even though, so you don't have to, other claims, you have to satisfy your deductible when you're rebuilding before. Okay, so like on a fire claim. And so they won't pay anything until your deductible is taken care of. When the event of an earthquake and it's massive loss, you're going to get money for that without, you don't have to rebuild, in other words. That's how earthquake insurance works. So it is available. It's mandated. Depends on the program. It's either extremely cheap or moderately expensive, depending on who's offering it. Like I said, we don't actively market it, mainly because it's just one of those things, a personal decision, and every company has to offer it anyway. So
This really isn't a red zone for earthquakes, is it?
people living on San Andreas can get earthquake insurance. So I mean, it's right now the way the market is that there's no place, again, because California has mandated insurance companies have to offer it. So the only time you have a moratorium is after an event. Okay, so once there's an event over a certain magnitude, no earthquake insurance, I think, until, I don't know, it's either 48 or 72 hours after the last 4.5 magnitude. So you get the aftershocks and all that. So that's the only time you'll have a moratorium. Okay, but you have moratoriums like on fire insurance too. If you have a major fire, like a wildfire, there's a moratorium for that zip code for a period of time. We've had moratoriums here in Bishop. They had the Pleasant Valley fire years ago, the Rollins River fire a year ago, whenever that was. Even though it didn't affect houses, the whole zip code was shut down. 93514 was shut down. Moratorium was put on until so many hours after the fire is under so much containment. So, we really keep an eye on those containment numbers, because you're kind of waiting and waiting and waiting. We've had issues where people were buying a house and escrow had to be held up because the insurance wouldn't go into place because there was a moratorium on the zip code. Even though there was no threat to the house, the whole zip code got broad brushed. So yeah, that kind of stuff can happen.
Welcome to Ion Inyo Sports. Today we're honored to have Coach Josh Nicholson of the junior varsity. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, Jimmy T.
Now, this is kind of late. We want to honor the players and the coach for last year's season. So tell us about your players and your position.
My position, I came on this last season again for my third term as defensive backs coach. And when I joined, initially Coach Cooper had the DBs, and he's an offensive guy, so he was pretty excited to have a defensive guy come in and take over that. Although he was doing a great job, I just cherish that time with these young men.
Yeah, the records actually speak good for both you and Cooper.
They do. The defensive side, I think we allowed a total of 20 points throughout the season, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Low.
Very low. And I think the highest points scored were on ourselves when we had the blue versus white game.
That was a great game.
It was. It came down to the wire. It was a great game.
Cool. So tell me about give me your spiel. Tell me about it.
So when I first came in, I wasn't trying to come in and jump in and make a bunch of changes, but right away I knew who my workhorse was, just from my time coaching hockey, and that was Kane Howard. Whenever I needed an example for the other players to see as far as hitting and stuff, although I'd love to put the pads back on, that's not going to happen. So Kane Howard was my go-to, and he ended up getting the Spirit Award at the end of the season, well-deserved, because his work ethic spoke for itself. He was not one to run his mouth. It was all on the field. So when I started, he was my go-to. We started out with 19 defensive backs, and we drew it down to about 15. I sent 2 to linebackers, 1 to defensive line, and then we lost a player early on in the season. So down to 15, and that's a lot for DBs. As you know, in JV football, there's not a ton of passing going on. And then typically we'll have 4 defensive backs, 2 safeties, and 2 corners, but depending on the offense, like Yosemite with a double tight, double wing, Coach Jackson will steal one of my spots and put them on the line, so we'll just have 3 DBs. So you can imagine it's tough to get a lot of playing time when you have 15 players and 3 DBs.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, like, throughout the season, some of the most exciting things for me to see as a coach is the growth of players, the confidence that grows, whether it be the mental side of the game or physical, and all the growth, whether they're time in the gym, time in the field, or on film and playbook, just to see that growth. You know you're doing something right as a coach, something, if they're growing.
Sorry. Keep going.
Sorry. So one of the most exciting times for me was in the first game. I knew Will Kemp was just a go-to player on both sides of the ball, but specifically defense. I threw him in at safety at the beginning of the second half, and he got his first pick in the end zone in that game, and he subsequently was my starter for the rest of the season at what would be our strong safety, and he got 5 picks total. And you can imagine JV football average about 6 passes a game, and so setting the blue and white game aside, he averaged 1 pick per game. So he was one of my growth players that just took off from the get-go. And then I had Jaden, and I had a handful of them start at corner that ended up moving to safety, or what's pretty cool is the ones that can play both.
Yes.
So Jaden, and I want to read it so I don't pronounce his last name completely wrong. Brizendine. I hope that's correct, Jaden. He started out as corner, and he's very smart and very physical, so I moved him to safety. And when he played safety at Ridgecrest, he got us 2 picks in that game. And like I said, just a physical player. Him and Will Kemp would just come down, attack the line of scrimmage, and take on dudes that are at twice their size and get them down. Just fun to watch. And then a lot of kids grow. I had 2 sophomores that were my starters, Jordan Lemons and Caden Howard at the corners, and then a lot of rotation at safety. Levi Dare really good at grasping just the whole field, and communication throughout. It was just fun to watch. And then young guys, real quiet guys like Isaac Keller and Kai Schultz, and then Charlie Lewis, just quiet guys that would just get after it on the field at the end of this season. Especially, one of the tough sides about winning with a big score, the game goes quick, but you're also able to play your lower-end guys sooner in the game. And then obviously I think I got to coach my son, who is a defensive back. He's more of a quarterback, so he's not the fastest kid out there, but it was fun to watch him play a little safety. Just an all-around great group of boys. I don't know if we had time to name all of them, but they're just putting in the time, and to have them all at the end of the season still be there is outstanding. And I think the biggest thing to note that we took away at the end of the season, that was a team goal, was that we had nobody drop out for grades. That was a big deal.
That's a challenge. Very
big challenge, because typically I think it's October-ish, sometime whenever quarter grades come out, you typically lose some, which was fun to watch that they didn't lose any.
Absolutely. Why don't you go ahead and name the rest of the players? So
okay,
pay attention.
Yeah, so Nicholas Poole is a safety for me. Chet Jenkins is a corner. Connell Graves is a safety. And I mentioned Kai Schultz, Isaac Keller, Daniel Michelle, and then Chucky Delgado. He was another corner safety. He started on both. Real fast, and the kid can jump super high. I said Charlie Lewis, Levi Durr, my son Ruben, Kane, and Jaden. And then Ethan Navarrete. Talk about a physical player. That kid can come down the line and put a hitting on somebody.
How many pancakes did he get?
Oh, right. Their kid can hit. All of them have their strengths, and all of them have their weaknesses, and we all have something to improve on, and I'm excited to see. Because I think all but 2 or 3 I named in there are freshmen. So we're going to have a significant amount coming back, and JV team's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's called corporate memory, where you learn stuff and it stays in the group.
I hope it stays in the group.
I was amazed at how well the JV was able to read the field. The safety Connor
Graves.
He could read the field. He saw stuff that I didn't see.
Yeah.
He's doing a really good job.
Yeah, just a lot of growth. A lot of growth.
Is there anybody you'd like to mention specifically? Give him an extra kudo?
As far as players go,
Yes.
I mean, like I said, when I put Will Kemp out there, I was just excited to watch him. And when we did play our blue on white, Emery Dondero, who's the quarterback on the opposite team, he definitely wanted to know where Kemp was at all times because Kemp was ready to pick him off. And then same with Caden Howard, just the deserving. The award he got, the Spirit Award, a kid never wanted to get out the field. I had to yell at him when he was injured because he had sneaked back on the field. And I'm like, Howard, you need to get off.
Send me in, coach. I'm
Yeah.
already in.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have to look for him. He was already out there. I had to yank him off.
Now, for recruiting, what kind of players, what kind of students are you looking for? Motivated ones.
Absolutely motivated. I guess just the old dedication and willingness to learn, open to criticism, and just respectful. Bronco football from the top down. Coach Palu instills just the respect, the discipline that's required. Football is unlike any other sport. You put in a lot of time and effort, and really at the end of the day, at best, you're going to get 10 games, especially on JV football. If you're lucky enough to get bumped up, you may get to see a little bit of playoff time. But for JV football, you put a lot of time, effort, and hours into what equals out to be 10 games tops. And I got to give Coach Myers a lot of credit with the creativity with the blue versus white game. I was nervous the whole time about injuries, us beating each other up, but all it did was it really did make ourselves better because we were the biggest competition we saw all season.
They played hard, and that was a cliffhanger.
It was
a fun
down
game.
the last second, the last pass,
Cool.
where we were trying to, I can't remember what color I was coaching. I think it was white, but watching the last pass, get deflected, so the blue took it home.
Cool. Thank you very much for coming, Coach.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure.
It's a pleasure to watch JV football. It's a pleasure to watch Bronco High School football. If you'd like to come out, they're open.
Yeah, 8th graders.
Come to the weight room. That's where you start. This is Jimmy T for Eye on Inyo Sports. We'll be back. Hello, this is Jimmy T with Eye on Inyo. Today we have some breaking news. And Rock, you have some breaking news for us.
Yeah, breaking out of this Sacramento, the state capital today, Jimmy, is that the state of California has been declared an act of God, and insurance is no longer available.
So that's avalanche, fire,
anything, fire, life, medical, the whole bit.
Okay.
Property insurance just not available until the act of God is lifted.
And does that take place immediately, or is that
As of 12:01 this morning.
Okay. I should say April 1. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Hi, this is Jimmy T with a special breaking report. This April 1. Rock, tell me, what's the news that just came out?
Well, breaking out of the state capital, Sacramento today, Jimmy, the state of California has been declared an act of God. And insurance is no longer available in the state. That's property insurance, home insurance, renter's insurance, condos insurance, auto insurance, life insurance, dog insurance. Any insurance is no longer available due to this situation. And this will be until further notice until the act of God is lifted.
And this so it takes effect today, April 1.
Effective today, as of 12:01 today, April 1.
Okay, and there's no moratorium, nothing. It's just right now.
It's done right now.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you might want to talk to your insurance agent because they get a refund. How does that work?
It's hard to say. Companies are scrambling right now. A lot of them aren't answering their calls. I'm turning my office into a bingo parlor, so we'll see. What happens after that.
Absolutely. Are we allowed gambling in? Yeah. This is Jimmy T with breaking news with Rock Baker on the insurance front in the United States and California. This April 1. Have a nice day. How bad was I?
You were fine. You were good.
Because you're just amazing. I'm sitting there going,